Okay, so our next article we're going to be doing is from Vice World News, probably a more
reputable,
reputable, I guess, journalistic website. Then the article itself which is pretty
English
hard.
major.
No, there you go. I read about aliens. What the fuck do I know? Thai monk cuts off his own head in hopes of reincarnation as a higher being. That's pretty hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some stories of like people committing suicide, not for any sort of reincarnation, but just to get back at people they loved and stuff. And I think that's pretty metal. A certain story I heard was of a gentleman who tied a rope around his own head and drove his truck into his house so his ex-wife could not receive the house in their divorce. That was pretty fucking metal. I have respect for that person.
Effective.
It says the act has shocked the Buddhist community, which said it did not align with its teachings. I don't think there's a point in time where who are the ones that set themselves on fire? Are those also those are Tibetan monks, right?
But
I'm thinking
I want to say they might have been Buddhists though.
Buddhist monks,
like all the self-immolation stuff, like to protest Chinese imperialism and shit.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking solely because of the Rage Against the Machine album cover, which is a photo taken from somewhere else. Obviously, there's a monk who's set themselves on fire.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've thought about that shit.
But I mean, from my understanding with this article, this monk pretty much went rogue and thought of these teaching himself. So let's go into the article. And
he did some pretty...
Daniel, do you want to read some of this article?
Sure. Let me pull it up real quick.
Created a device. Pretty brutal, I think.
An elderly Thai monk decapitated himself with a homemade device in a grisly death aimed at reincarnating as a higher being, an official confirmed to Vice World News on Wednesday. The extreme act has shaken the Buddhist community and sparked an investigation. Dhammakorn Wangprecha rose before dawn the morning of April 15th at a sleepy temple in northeastern Thailand, where his followers helped him prepare the macabre ritual, which was finished by sunrise.
So he had his assistants.
Oh yeah,
this wasn't something he just did himself.
And then he just like pulled a string or something and like dropped a rock on his head or something like that. And
dropped a rock.
It was like
it pinched his.
He had
his head
some
off,
ropes set up, and it was like snapped the lines. Then like the concrete buckets they had filled up, like jumped or whatever, and then that dropped the fucking blade on him.
Right.
He did some ridiculous shit.
And it says here in the article that he apparently believes sacrificing his life would bring him merit and that he would come back as a higher being or even a Buddha. And I mean, that contradicts even like general Western beliefs with suicide. That I think with even the Christian belief is that if you commit suicide, you're pretty much damned to either purgatory or hell or something of that fashion.
Yeah, well, like I know the Catholic Church is big on that. I'm actually not certain on like Protestant stances on suicide. Right. I mean, I'm sure they're not running around promoting it in any sense, but I don't know if they go as hard as the Catholics say that like, well, then you're just damned.
Right. I mean, they're not going around saying if you want to get the tippity top of the good life in the afterlife, kill yourself.
Yeah.
But evidently there was a god or someone in the like Buddhist pantheon that this dude was trying to like
emulate,
recreate the acts of, because there's a figure in Buddhism that is depicted with like holding their own severed head or whatever, and evidently this guy Dhammakorn or whatever killed himself near a statue of that, which I believe they bring up in the little follow-up article when it's talking about like the potential crimination of other people at the monastery that like helped him.
Just right there, it says an official working on the case for the Thailand's National Buddhism Office said, I'm not even gonna say his name, was 68 years old and the former abbot at the monastery. Speaking to Vice World News on the condition of anonymity, he said the ex-abbot's rationale was not in accordance with the contemporary Buddhist teachings. And according to this is what they said. This is all from personal belief, he said, adding that there's been a negative response on social media and within the Buddhist community regarding the act. Well, no shit, right? And he says he went on to say that this is the first self-decapitation of a monk in modern Thailand, but that there have been reports of similar acts in eras in the distant past, and even then they were rare. So, Daniel, you did mention that the picture of the guy is like holding his own severed head.
Yeah.
But I'm not familiar basically at all with Buddhist teachings, so I couldn't say for sure that the act of suicide would bring them some sort of higher level after death or reincarnation, so to speak. I mean, the guy is like hoping to become like the main Buddha guy after death from just this decapitating himself.
Well, I mean, okay. So once again, limited understanding of Buddhist ideas of reincarnation, but if the dude was already an abbot of a monastery, then he was probably a pretty holy dude. So he was just like, let me just expedite the fucking process of getting to my next form because it's got to be better than this because I led a good life or whatever.
Right. Well, 68 years old, I mean, do you think he could have been suffering from some kind of like dementia or
delusions?
Delusions like could cause him to have this kind of belief? 68 years old.
But for him to be able to convince other monks to help him in the endeavor.
He must have sounded, at the very least, fairly rational. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like he may have been batshit crazy, but evidently this guy was able to present these ideas in a rational enough sounding tone to where these dudes, really went and put themselves on the line now, because now you have like the Thai government looking to potentially prosecute the dudes that helped him out.
Right.
He was socially suave. He just had that.
Well,
kind of
I mean,
voice.
if you're gonna think of like,
Hey, come on, guys.
I'm not attributing this to being a cult or anything,
Help me
but
kill
like,
myself.
there have been many cults out there, like with suave, charismatic characters.
I was going to go there, Ray.
But I mean, you can pretty much be. You don't have to sound crazy necessarily, but I mean, we can talk about Jim Jones, David Koresh, or even I don't know, Charles Manson, for fuck's sake. I mean, you just have to be somewhat charismatic and speak in the right tones or use the right words, and people will follow you no matter what.
Hit the right audience.
Yeah.
Help me kill myself. Okay.
And possibly, he was able to use his position as being the abbot.
Yeah, exactly, right.
As like, I am a symbol of religious authority.
Do what I say.
Well, just imagine like
you're
that.
fired.
I mean, this act can influence someone else, especially if there wasn't probably such negative response to it, that the next person would kill themselves trying to reach some kind of higher level. Or I mean, you think of those. There's extremists in any sort of religious belief. I mean, you're gonna go with Islamic people, like the extremists that go and like fucking drive themselves into.
And I kind of go like, I don't know,
buildings with
this is a
airplanes.
very callous approach, but it's like kind of like, all right, I'm not sure if there's a real downside to there being less religious fanatics in the world.
Yeah.
Like, every time an Al Qaeda dude goes boop, like it's tragic because it's gonna fuck with people that aren't involved in that, but there's one less fucking idiot ass religious person that's holding us back as a fucking species.
Well, you would hope that if they're gonna go boop, that they'd be by themselves and they go boop, but it's unfortunate that they're gonna go and take other people with them. Now
There's really not enough information.
Other article regarding the criminalization of some. Why the fuck did he do that?
Yeah, mostly it's a follow up, and the main idea is that now there may be repercussions for the monks and other dudes that helped out the former abbot kill himself.
Yeah. Oh, I love how they just kill. Let me read this first sentence here.
Please go
I
ahead.
love how this is.
Go
written.
for it.
Police in the far northeast of Thailand will look into whether the followers of an abbot who beheaded himself with a DIY guillotine last week should be prosecuted for aiding his attempt at attaining alignment. I'm sorry,
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment.
He's fucking wheels. He needs alignment. What the fuck
Yeah,
is
there we
it?
go. It's balancing, right?
It says
It's all
major
the-
is a Nifon. I can't even say the name. That is ridiculous because I'm not going to mispronounce it. Police said yesterday, major. Something. Go ahead. You go ahead and try and pronounce
Major
it.
Nifon Panich Tavarian of Nongwa Lampo Police.
Damn, fuck you. The police said yesterday that those who moved, cleaned, and burned Damarakaran's or Wang Perchacha's body could be charged. I'm not going to. Yeah.
Racist.
I'm adding.
Racist.
I can't pronounce it. It's a hard name. And I do apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone about the name. I just can't pronounce it. I'm stupid.
Baka.
Those who helped could be charged with the crime of concealing a corpse despite clear evidence that his actions last week amounted to suicide. I imagine would they be charged? Is it say anywhere in this article that they would be charged with some kind of like murder,
like accessory to
manslaughter?
Yeah. Well,
like conspiracy and all those sort of
Conspiracy to commit
charges.
murder.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does say that. It says they could be guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. That's pretty harsh.
Look at that. Brain read that a few days ago. Just
remembered.
Steel trap, baby. Steel trap.
That's a little heavy-handed. I don't know. He
I
killed
mean,
himself. Like
it was his idea to do it.
Exactly. Like
I mean,
but the authorities are going that like basically this was also a cover-up too because
they
it wasn't
hide
the former abbot that dismantled the fucking guillotine and took his body to prepare for burial and stuff. Like,
I mean, wouldn't that just make them like? I guess
accessories to like manslaughter,
accessories
or
to suicide. I mean, because that's what.
Well, because I mean,
suicide
here, do we have a legal assisted suicide in America?
No,
we don't have that at all.
No.
Actually, on that
sorry.
subject, the only place
the Kevorkian
in
clause,
Europe
as it's
to do
referred
it is
to,
in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So if people like in dire sickness want to end their life, they would have to travel to Switzerland to get that done.
Yes, and actually, there's a brilliant documentary I just watched that won a BAFTA that was done by Terry Pratchett, author of the Discworld series, called "Choosing to Die," where he follows a couple folks that are on their way to assisted suicide in Zurich. And it was dark in tone because we're talking about people self-terminating, but these dudes are like in crazy debilitating conditions and they're of sound mind. They want to end it, but if they did it in their home countries, then like their spouses could be charged with like murder and
anyone
so forth with assisting them.
Yeah, would be
So
prosecuted.
you can pay about 10,000 British pounds in Zurich and go to a facility. It's like a couple apartments and they'll give you a little cocktail where you take the deep sleep.
Daniel, I don't know if you read. I mean, Doug Stanhope has actually talked about this in his stand-up, but in his book,
I have not read Digging Up Mother.
Digging Up Mother.
It's on my list to pick up.
The first chapter itself basically goes
dark.
over him. I think it's the first and second chapter. I don't know, but it's in the very beginning of the book. He basically talks about how he had to kind of like go under the table and like talk to
and
certain doctors.
His specials too. He basically had like a Saul Goodman type lawyer,
right?
To help his mother
that they hit up, and
that his mother wanted to end it, and he just wanted her not to do it on a Super Bowl Sunday. Right? So like basically, he helped his mother end her life, and I mean it's funny, but it's also dark as shit. And I mean, you can also, I mean, he had to he couldn't talk about it for like the longest time, and I guess there's a certain
there was a statute of limitations of that
everything.
statute of limitations wasn't necessarily associated with his mother's
It was the
suicide.
credit card.
It was
credit
with
card,
the credit card fraud that he committed after she died. He goes into this great bit about how it's like, there's proof of an afterlife because like how else would his mother have bought so many cool things for him and his friends?
Yeah.
From the Sky Mall catalog or whatever.
Going back to this article, it says, I ask you not to put too much faith in something unscientific as the Buddha taught that that his words can be proved. The general thought it said we called him Major earlier. Everybody must have some logic to believing or respecting something, and I don't think anybody wants to imitate a beheading by guillotine. It says a local psychiatrist reportedly went to the monastery along with cops Monday to check on the mental health of people there and in the community. And it said that his followers said that he had spent 5 years planning his death in the belief that it would hasten his attainment of nirvana. And he was well regarded locally, and locals said they weren't surprised when early Thursday, on his birthday, he cut ropes holding up 2 cement-filled buckets to bring a meter-long blade down onto his neck. The guillotine had been erected just a few steps from the statue of the Indra kneeling in supplication to offer his decapitated head with outstretched arms. So, like, it is part of the, I would imagine, is some kind of a deity that they have.
Yeah, no, they did talk about it a little bit, like, and it's apparently this deity is used as a marketing, like a fucking, he's your fucking Lucky from Lucky Charms or whatever. I'm not saying he's on breakfast cereal, but there are depictions of this god holding his decapitated head on products sold in like Buddhist territories, which is pretty fucking cool.
So it's not far off to think that he would probably get this idea in his head.
But
you know? What are you typing there?
Head and Shoulders Thailand, you know, like.
Oh, you're looking for the actual image. Anyways, any other last thoughts about this article? And like, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I have some respect for people who kill. And it's gonna sound weird, like kill themselves, but
no, I'm with you, man. If you don't want to fucking be here, it is a fucking selfish act or whatever. But if you don't want to fucking be here and you want to check out, that's your fucking right, dude. And you know, kind of the fact you have the balls for it, I respect that. And like, yeah, that's not like a really cool thing to, or like it's an awkward thing to say, but like, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down, Ray, with the whole like.
I mean, I don't advocate for suicide in any way, but I mean, if someone does it, I mean, again, like you said, it is kind of a selfish act depending on like for instance, this gentleman here who killed himself, like he did it out of a reason for his belief. You know, he thought it would help him attain some kind of higher spiritual awareness, if you will. And that was his choice to do that, and that's his belief. And as a person's religious beliefs, I mean, they have the right to do whatever they want necessarily. I don't condone or advocate for teenagers doing that just because they lost some girlfriend or something.
Right?
I think that's stupid.
They're
that's
sad.
that's like Romeo and Juliet bullshit, you know. That I don't believe that.
Okay, yeah. So
my parents found my stash.
So our 3 to 4 listeners realize there's a lot of nuance in this, but the overall message is like, yo, there are some arguably like okay moments to go, I'm done, clack, clack, poo moi, Cobain my way out of the world.
Right. Yeah. So
even
I mean,
though Courtney Love did it, but you know.
yeah,
we all know.
Yeah, we know you did it, Courtney. We know you did
we fucking know. We
fucking know. But like I said,
good job.
Not advocating for suicide, but this guy here is pretty hardcore. He fucking especially decapitation. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
man.
like he was.
Imagine the I mean, I can only imagine the seconds whenever he did that snip and then the thing just fell on his head. Like,
I wonder, like, how much they tested this, like, homemade guillotine, though. Like,
how many times did he see it play out in action,
like,
and he didn't like second guess what he was doing,
and like the blade slipped and like just like shaved off like the top part of his like skull, but he still lives. You know, just has a little bit of brain damage, and he's just like nah for the rest of his existence. You know,
what's the name of that guy who used to smash the watermelons or whatever?
Gallagher,
man.
This is almost like guillotine Gallagher bullshit or whatever.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He just has a bunch of like melons and shit, you know? Like,
well, I mean, like, if it was a dull blade, then maybe it would have like hit, you know, and like made a melon smash kind of thing. But, you know.
Well, I mean, it helps that it could have been dull for all we know, but it was a meter long. So that
doesn't mean anything.
It's going to have enough force to pinch it off.
That doesn't. No,
you don't think so? And he's
No.
old. His body is made of
Oh,
paper.
sorry. I do think that. Yes, I think that, Roland. I think the sharpness of the blade, because they're not. Because yes, physically you could be decapitated with a fucking telephone pole,
the guy's
but it
body
depends on
was
the velocity of the fucking telephone pole hitting you.
The guy's body was made of paper. All right, he could have used a giant spoon, and it would probably still pop his head off, no problem. It's just
cool. You're wrong, so you're just gonna take it off and just run a little side tangent where the guy is apparently made of paper, not flesh and bone. And
yes.
That's cool, Roland.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when this video gets uploaded to YouTube, I'm gonna get some kind of like strike on something where I'm gonna have to like take out the word suicide because people hearing the word is like too harsh for their ears or something. It's a reality of the world, people. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, people do this. Have been doing this for ever.
They check themselves out early.
Yeah, they check themselves out early. Let's use that. let me use that clip. Check out early.
They picked up their ball and went home. You know.
But that'll be it for this article. You have anything else to add?
Nah.
No? Okay.
No, but this was fucking badass.
It's pretty crazy cool.